Greetings, Ascending Masters. This is the Divine Alchemist checking in. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to stop by my page. For those that are already followers, I appreciate you. For those just checking me out, sit back, relax, and come get what you came for. Obviously, there's no coincidences in the universe. So the reason you ended up on this page is because there was something that you were supposed to soak in. So I'm going to go ahead and get started for you. Today, I want to speak on a topic of consciousness. It's kind of funny because this episode is actually inspired by a conversation I had with a colleague of mine. And the reason that I felt the need to talk about consciousness is because I was asked, so do you consider yourself one of those conscious people or one of those woke people? So my normal response was to ask, well, how would you define a woke or a conscious person? When I tell you that the response I got was nowhere near what I was expecting, the rabbit holes we went down, the way that conversation went, it really inspired me to sit down and just do an episode based solely on consciousness, so I could have somewhere to direct a person if I ever had another conversation like that. Because people really don't understand what's going on. They got all types of ideas. They're thinking that it's a cult, it's a religion, like community, like all these different things. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into what consciousness actually is. So on the simplest level, consciousness is just being aware, knowing what's happening in your environment, understand what's going on around you. So just being aware of what's going on in your space. Pretty simple. Now, if we take it a little bit deeper, some of us would define consciousness as the connection between your mind, your body, and your spirit. Now, this is important to understand because this is really just creating a correlation and really understanding the rhythm of our body, our mind, our spirit, and how these things connect. So when I talk about mind, I'm specifically speaking on your thoughts. And this is really where everything begins, is how are you thinking? And this is really where most people are not putting intention, because most people never try to monitor their thoughts. But the thoughts is where everything starts. So whatever you're thinking is going to show up in your reality. Now, I know we get thousands and thousands of thoughts a day, and most of them are on autopilot. But if you really take the time to be conscious and be aware, you do have the ability to reprogram the thoughts that are on autopilot. Now, how do these thoughts get in our mind? Well, basically, it's through all the information that we take in. So it can be social media, scrolling on Instagram, TikTok, whichever one you prefer. It can be watching television, watching the news. It can be listening to music, listening to the radio, listening to our favorite songs. It can be dogma from other people, having conversations with our friends, conversations with coworkers, people, strangers, anything. Really, any way that you receive information, that's how you're actually getting the conscious thoughts. Now, the body portion of this is going to be your actions. This is what you're actually going to be doing on a day-to-day basis. So what actions are you taking? I mean, you're brushing your teeth, that's an action. You're driving your car, that's an action. You're choosing to go to the gym, that's an action. You're choosing to eat, that's an action. Now, a lot of these actions are also not intentional. We program them in our mind and in our body to respond a certain way. So usually you don't have to think to brush your teeth. You know, if you're driving to your friend's house, you don't have to think about how to get there if it's somewhere that you've been going for a while. So these actually become automatically programmed as well. And the final piece of this is going to be the spirit. And the spirit is really referencing how you feel. I said it a little bit out of order intentionally, but you know, your spirit is your emotions. So are you angry? Are you happy? Are you joyful? Are you sad? Are you upset? These are all your feelings. Now, the way that this works is your thoughts create your feelings, and your feelings determine your actions. Okay, I'm gonna break that down a little bit, but right now I want to stop and say, if you are enjoying this so far, please take the time to like the episode, subscribe to the channel, and share it with 3 people that you think can be impacted by this information. Thank you so much for that. Now back to what it actually means being conscious. So the thoughts, the feelings, and the actions. So what you think, and this is the one that most people really don't spend the time tuning up, because a lot of people do sometimes think about their actions. But what you think is really where the process needs to begin for everything. And this process should begin, I would even say, the night before you go to sleep, where you review your thoughts from the day, you set your intentions for the night, and then you wake up and you program your mind to think a certain way, expect certain outcomes, and you just move in a direction of how those outcomes are going to show up. So that's how the thoughts interlock with this. The next step is going to be the feelings. Now your thoughts are going to determine how you feel. I'm going to say that again. Your thoughts are going to determine how you feel. Now, some people may not agree with that. They may say, well, the way I feel is determined by some of these random events that show up in my life. For example, you stub your toe, get in a car accident, whatever the case may be. But if you have decided that you're going to feel a certain way, and you have really started the process of programming your brain, then you'll be able to control those feelings. Obviously, in certain moments where extreme things happen, you can get pulled out of character for a second. Ultimately, though, you only want that to be a second. You don't want that second to linger into minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, whatever the case may be. You want to keep that time frame as short as possible. But minus any extreme circumstances, overall, your thoughts are going to determine your feelings for the day. Now, how you feel, it is going to determine the actions that you take. I mean, when you feel happy, what actions do you do? You might smile, you might crack a joke, you might go to the store, you might just go enjoy life and have a good time. If you're sad or you're depressed, you might just stay in the bed. You might not want to talk to anybody. You might not want to interact with your friends, with your people, your spouse, your co-workers, anybody. So it's really important to understand that these feelings, they do have an impact on your actions that you're going to take. And finally, the actions. Now, most of our actions are pre-programmed, but we can break in and change that program sometime. This is the one that people are more likely to actually switch up. Most people will start with your actions, and that's a whole nother story, where how a lot of people get the consciousness actually mixed up a little bit, because the way most people operate is they'll do this process backwards. They'll do certain actions to create certain feelings, and that'll leave them with certain thoughts. But that's not necessarily in synchronicity. That's not the way it's supposed to work, because the actions that you take in that scenario, typically they aren't going to be the most effective, because the actions produce outcomes. So it goes thoughts, feelings, actions, and then outcomes is what happens from this process. If you're going actions, feelings, thoughts, that means your outcome is coming without your thoughts even being aligned with it, because the action is already producing the outcome, and then you're getting a feeling from the outcome, and then you're thinking backwards, like, man, maybe I shouldn't have did that, or you're thinking on the back end, when really the process should be simple, where you're obviously thinking first. That thought is creating a feeling in your body. That feeling is helping you determine which actions to take. Okay? So, being conscious is really getting these things in alignment. Now, getting it in alignment is not the easiest task. It sounds simple, but I can assure you it's not very easy if this is not the way that you've been operating. So you have to understand that this is super important, because choosing not to do this can result in being addicted to unfavorable results. A lot of times we make decisions and we wonder why. We wonder why we keep choosing things that produce a bad result. And a good example of this is going to be, let's say, someone trying to lose weight. It's a good example because a person might keep deciding to eat chips every day. And when they eat the chips, it's producing a feeling of guilt. They're not happy about the choice. They know that they had a goal to lose weight. They said that they were going to lose weight. They said they were going to eat better and have vegetables and maybe snack on some fruit today, but instead they got those chips and they're binging Netflix. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is in a scenario like that, a person can be addicted to the feeling of guilt. I'm going to say that again. In a scenario like that, where a person is ultimately choosing to do something that is not going to serve them, they may be actually addicted to the negative emotion, which in this example is guilt. And when we really uncover that one, when we uncover that pothole, that's when things really start to get deep and we really start to dig into the consciousness and understand, okay, why am I choosing to eat these chips? I know that it's bad for me. I know it doesn't serve my goal. I know it's not helping me in any way. I mean, yeah, it tastes good, but what is this really about? And that's where you can determine, oh, well, maybe although I don't enjoy feeling guilt, I need to feel it because my brain is used to it. My circumstances, my events, my life is just revolving around feeling guilty every day because I've been feeling guilty every day for 7 years. So now I crave it. Do you understand that you can actually crave something that you don't necessarily feel good about? You know, a lot of people feel like the cravings or the things that we want to completely take advantage of are just going to be positive emotions or positive thoughts that we love, or most people associate, you know, eating unhealthy or junk food with the positive emotion of it tastes good. But the reality is a lot of these things are negative emotions that we're just attached to because we've been dealing with it for so long. So ultimately, the goal is just to identify, okay, am I actually locked in on this emotion of feeling guilt, of feeling sad, of feeling bad for myself, or being a victim, or whatever the case may be? Once you can understand and identify that, it'll make it much easier to really go back and follow this process of thinking first, feeling second, acting third, and enjoying the outcome. So that's just a quick breakdown of what it means to be conscious. But what's really important, I'll bring it down to 3 steps. It'll be, number 1, be aware, understand what's going on, take the time to step out of autopilot, pay attention to your surroundings, pay attention to your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions. Just be aware of what's happening in your life. The second thing you need to do is be intentional. Once you're aware of what's going on and you can see that things are happening that you don't necessarily approve of, well, now you can intentionally do things that you do want to happen. You can take that step and plan out your day and really choose how you get from where you are to where you want to be, or make the decision that you're going to go from where you are to where you want to be. And the third step for that is going to be just be patient. The brain is a muscle, just like going to the gym. You know, you don't go to the gym, lift weights one time, and then come out super fit. No, it takes time. You got to build those muscles up. And sometimes it hurts a little bit. Sometimes it hurts to strain those muscles. So it may be uncomfortable. We have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And if we really want to grow this muscle that is our brain and really create a cohesive system to run our lives better, then that's what we have to do. You know, that's what we have to do to step into the consciousness. And, you know, as always, I do want to just relate this to at least one universal law. And today I'm going to go ahead and do it. Not a long dive, but just a quick touch on the law of universal divine oneness. Okay? So the universal law of divine oneness, very simply put, it just states that everything is connected, all is one. So when you understand that everything is connected, you really get a better understanding and better idea of the fact that you do get to choose your experiences because they're all connected. Understanding that everything is put together in a certain scientific way, it means that you can use a certain scientific process to choose what you want from everything that's there. So, like I said, I'm not going to dive deep into that, but I always like to just give a little bit of that. So, if you want to take some time, I'll do a deeper dive on divine oneness in a later episode. But I wanted to just throw that in there just to bring it back and let you know that everything is connected. And, that's really where the consciousness comes from, is just the divine oneness and understanding that you do have a choice and you can pick and choose between these experiences once you get good at it. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. If you enjoyed this content, make sure that you like it. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you share this content with 2 or 3 people that it can help. And I'm going to leave it off here. What's the craziest thing that you ever heard someone say about being conscious? Have you ever had a conversation like the one I had that inspired this episode? I love to hear it. Drop your crazy conscious conversations in the comments. Thanks, family. Peace and stay blessed.